Hey guys, it's me, Seren, back with another video. So I know I said a long time ago that I was going to do a video on digital surveillance, but I've been really busy, and it seems like I really feel like for the last 3 months, it's just been like nonstop, which seems weird considering we're in like a pandemic, but I don't know. It just seems like a lot has been happening for me. And so I was never able to do this video, but I wanted to do this video now on digital surveillance because this Sunday, September 20th, the United States is banning TikTok. So TikTok and also the app WeChat are being banned. TikTok is being banned because it's primarily owned by, well, both of them are being banned due to security concerns. And TikTok especially is owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese company. You guys have heard me talk in live streams before about how much I hate TikTok. I absolutely despise TikTok. TikTok really is, I know people aren't going to want to hear this because Donald Trump said it. I don't know who in Donald Trump's administration that knows this, or I don't know, but TikTok is owned by a Chinese company, ByteDance, and TikTok is used for facial recognition. They do use facial recognition software. Every single time somebody signs up for TikTok and does all the dances and all that other stuff, your face, your identity gets stored in basically what amounts to a digital database, and it's used for facial recognition software. In China, I don't believe that it's being used in tandem with police departments or anything like that yet here in the United States, but it is used in that capacity in China. And Chinese users also are really, they're being surveilled. They're being watched by the Chinese government via apps like TikTok. TikTok also has a lot of racial issues in the United States as well as abroad. They block, in China as well, they block users that they deem not attractive enough. They've blocked users that they deem too poor. If there's cracks in your walls, if you're too dark, all of these things have resulted in certain users getting pushed down while other users get risen up to the top. I don't know if it's that extreme in the United States, but they have also found that type of bias in the United States version of TikTok as well. We all also know that TikTok basically right now is used as a way to mine Black content creators and Black creatives, dances, songs, everything. TikTok is a place where Black creativity essentially goes to die and gets stolen by some white person, renegade, all types of things. This is how TikTok works. So in addition to being a platform that is racist, is classist, is used as a way to really perpetuate cultural appropriation and straight up thievery from Black content creators. There's also huge security issues with TikTok because it does use facial recognition software. They do store the data, the privacy data, the literal facial identity of users. This has been used in conjunction with police. I don't think in the United States, but overseas, absolutely. I've had issues with TikTok because I feel like TikTok exists in a lot of the same capacities as Facebook and even Google in a lot of ways, which I'm on Google right now because I'm on YouTube, obviously, but that it mines your data. It stores your data. It literally uses your face as data and stores it. You guys have heard me talk a lot about an article that I read in the New Yorker called Dressing for the Surveillance Age, which I will link in the description box. And it was a really excellent piece that talks about how we're living in the digital surveillance age right now, how we are constantly being surveilled all the time. I'm going to read you guys some excerpts from this New Yorker piece, but I feel like we don't really think about or talk about the way that digital surveillance, like the kind that has been perpetuated by TikTok, is really normalized in our society. People really ask me Seren, get on TikTok, get on TikTok. When are you going to get on TikTok? TikTok had at one point I'm not a Google, I want to say 100 million, but let me Google how many users just so I could be absolutely sure. But I feel like it was 100 million, but let me tell you. Yep. TikTok revealed specific U.S. and global growth milestones for the first time in a lawsuit against the U.S. government. TikTok has about 100 million monthly active U.S. users. 100 million Americans are basically giving away their face, their identity, their privacy, their recognition to fucking TikTok which basically, again, stores it in a huge database. It's owned by this Chinese company, and it runs facial recognition software on all of this information, on all of this data. And it's really been normalized, especially in the United States, of just like, well, the apps are fun. TikTok is fun. Facebook is fun. Instagram is fun. YouTube is fun. All these things are fun. So we're encouraged to not think about privacy, to not think about digital surveillance. TikTok is also in bed with different corporations that supplies information to companies and to brands for different things. Some of you may or may not have heard about this within the last few years. A lot of police departments in the United States work with a lot of companies like TikTok because they need faces. They need faces to train on. They need faces. They use literal black faces for fucking target practice, okay? Like random fucking faces. They've even been caught using like mugshots of people, which they've wondered, does this count into implicit bias? Yes, it does. When you have a fucking row full of black faces and you're shooting at them for target practice, of course you're going to become desensitized to a black face and only see it as a target. All these types of things that they need faces, that they need information, that they need moving bodies, moving faces. When you start getting into digital surveillance and the way that a lot of it works, these CCTV cameras, the cameras that they have, traffic cameras, huge issue in DC, cameras in stores, cameras in train stations. All of these things have to be programmed, which the New Yorker piece goes in depth on, to be able to even recognize a face. What is a face? How does a face, a body, skin color, hair, eye color, how do all of these things appear to a camera? What does a camera see when it's looking at these things? And so you have these corporations that literally, they mine our data, they mine our faces, they mine our privacy, they mine our identities, and then they sell them out to the highest bidder for all types of, who knows what, including nefarious purposes. And we're encouraged to just like click a little check mark and say yes and not really think about it. You guys know I also have a huge issue with 23andMe and Ancestry.com and all these DNA testing for similar reasons, because they push them so hard. I feel like they've scaled back because people have started to realize. I do feel like they've scaled back on commercials and things of that nature, but basically you're paying money to a company to give them your genetic property, your genetic data that they basically then own. You check a little box. You say, I'm going to swab my cheek, or I'm going to, give you my hair, or whatever. You're going to test it. You're going to give me this genetic breakdown of, where I came from and this, that, and the third. And then you have my genetic material. You have my DNA for whatever you want. It was announced last year that 23andMe had partnered, they were getting in bed with a big pharma company, a pharmaceutical company, to use the huge, vast, millions, hundreds of millions, of DNA trove, all these different swabs that they have from all these millions of Americans. They were getting in bed with the pharmaceutical company to try to use that DNA and that data to come up with drugs, to come up with medicinals. And this is something that they don't have to pay. They don't have to pay you. They don't have to pay you for that. If they fucking find the cure to cancer using your DNA, you gave it to them for free. You paid them. But it's like you gave them your DNA and now they're able to use your DNA for things. If they find the cure to cancer and they all become fucking rich, fucking billionaires, you don't have to be paid because you gave it to them. And we're being encouraged to not think twice about what are we doing with our genetic property? What are we doing with our faces, with our facial recognition? What are we doing with our names? What are we doing with our addresses, with our birthday? All this stuff is information, is data, and we're living in the information age where this is all currency. That's why Google is always trying to mine your shit. That's why, companies like TikTok are always trying to mine your shit. So let me just read you guys a little bit. Tom Goldstein, an associate professor of computer science at the University of Maryland, took an invisibility cloak, and this is in quotations, this is what he calls it, an invisibility cloak, from a pile on a chair in his office and pulled it on over his head. To my eye, it looked like a baggy sweatshirt made of glossy polyester, printed with garish colors and formless shapes that, far from turning Goldstein invisible, made him impossible to miss. So Tom Goldstein, this professor that is studying computer science at UMD, came up with this basically a digital pattern that when you wear this pattern on your clothes, it makes you invisible to cameras. The cameras essentially can't see you. They can't track you. It was mid-January. Early that morning, in my search for a suitable outfit to thwart the all-seeing eyes of surveillance machines, I had taken the train from New York City to College Park. As I rode the subway from Brooklyn to Penn Station and then boarded Amtrak for my trip south, I counted the CCTV cameras. At least 26 caught me going and returning. As cities become surveillance centers, packed with cameras that always see, public anonymity could vanish. Later, when I spoke to Aaron Ross, a computer vision researcher at Michigan State University, he told me that a surgical mask alone might not block enough of my face's pixels in a digital shot to prevent a face recognition system from making a match. Some algorithms can reconstruct the occluded parts of people's faces. As the coronavirus spread through China, since time, a Chinese AI company claimed to have developed an algorithm that not only can match a surgically masked face with the wearer's unoccluded face, but can also use thermal imagery to detect an elevated temperature and discern whether that person is wearing a mask. Like, they don't really give a fuck about your privacy. They really, literally... They don't care about your privacy. Like, they don't care. And when you hear about these companies like SenseTime that has developed an algorithm that can match a surgically masked face with your bare face, and you wonder, like, wow, I wonder how they do that. They do that because companies, like the one that owns TikTok, supply them with people's faces so that their algorithm, their artificial intelligence that they use on these cameras can get smarter and smarter and be able to identify faces, okay? Like, privacy is going to be a thing of the past. To put together an outfit for my style of dressing, something like stealth streetwear, I first needed to understand how machines see. Building machines that can process and recognize images as accurately as a human has been, along with teaching machines to read, speak, and write our language, has been a holy grail of artificial intelligence research since the early 60s. The machines don't see holistically, so they don't see like a whole, like we look at a fucking dog and we see a dog. Like, our eyes and our brain processes a dog. We know what it is. A machine might look at it and see 2 ears, 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, a stomach, 4 legs. Is it a dog? Is it a turtle? Is it a cat? What is it? It sees totally different than us. These machines don't see holistically either. They see in pixels, the minute grains of light that make up a photographic image. At the dawn of AI, engineers tried to handcraft computer programs to extract the useful information in the pixels that would signal to the machine what kind of object it was looking at. This was often achieved by extracting information about the orientation of edges in an image because edges appeared the same under different lighting conditions. But the pioneers soon encountered a problem. The human brain has a remarkable ability as it processes an object's components to save the useful content while throwing away nuisance variables like lighting, shadows, and viewpoint. AI researchers couldn't describe to a machine exactly what makes a cat recognizable as a cat, let alone code this into a mathematical formula. It was impossible to code the cognitive leap that our brains make. Somehow, we know it's a cat. Even we can catch only a partial glimpse of it or see one in a cartoon. We can see Felix the cat in a cartoon walking upright, wearing clothes, wearing a hat, talking, but we still know it's a cat. A machine looks at that and can't see it the exact same way. Within the last 5 years, machines could perform object recognition with not just human, but superhuman performance, thanks to deep learning, the now ubiquitous approach to AI in which algorithms that process input data learn through multiple trial and error cycles. In deep learning-based computer vision, feature extraction and mapping are done by a neural network that is a constellation of artificial neurons. So they just figured out a way to make fake brain cells because the singularity is coming. The machine uprising is coming. No one would mistake me for Brad Pitt, I thought, scrutinizing my image, but no one would mistake me for a cat either. To the computer, however, I was merely a collection of pixels. The system maps the live digital image of me, measuring the brightness of each pixel. Then the pixels pass through hundreds of layers, a process that groups neighboring pixels together into edges, then edges into shapes, and so on until you eventually get a person. Nuisance variables are removed along the way as pixels are distilled into features that encode my presence. All this happens in about the same amount of time that it takes the human brain to recognize an object. Finally, a red outline called a bounding box appeared around me on the live screen with the label person. Boom, you're detected, Goldstein said. And it's only going to get quicker and quicker and smarter because, again, mainly through these apps that we sign up for to use, like Tick-Tock, we are supplying these companies with an endless amount of information, especially with facial recognition and facial recognition software for them to run, because it's a trial and error system, for them to run so that the computers and the algorithms and the cameras keep getting smarter and smarter. Advances in computer vision have occurred so rapidly that local and national privacy policies, what aspects of your face and body should be protected by law from surveillance machines, are lagging far behind AI's technological capabilities, leaving the public vulnerable to a modern panopticon, a total surveillance society that could be built before we know enough to stop it. Chris Meserole, a foreign policy fellow at the Brookings Institution who studies China's use of face recognition and other surveillance technologies, widely deployed as part of Xi Jinping's stability maintenance drive, told me that policymakers in the States haven't so far created governing structures to safeguard citizens. And, he added, in the US, the government hasn't thought to use it yet, the way that China has. I like that he used the word yet. Because it's not just a TikTok problem. It's not just a dance fight problem. It's really not just a China problem. China has got the jump on it, but the United States is heading that direction as well. Like, we low-key already live in a digital surveillance society that is constantly collecting our information, our digital footprint, our faces, all these things, even our genetic material. And we just don't think about it. Like, niggas really just don't think about it. Like, they just check the little box, say yes, and go. They really aren't, we're really not encouraged to think about the way that we give over our privacy and our data. So I also want to mention that this piece talks about how digital surveillance and especially cameras on us 24/7 and a lot of these facial recognition and just like digital recognition software can also be hacked. So the author talks about when they went to go visit this dude Goldstein at UMD, how they talk about the ways that the cameras see things and how he used this to sort of design this fabric that makes you invisible to cameras. Goldstein stepped in front of the camera and the detector did a double take. It couldn't see him at all. The computer saw the chair behind him. Chair, the bounding box was labeled, but not the 6-foot-tall, 36-year-old man standing right in front of it. Goldstein unbound. I and my supposedly anonymous, they were like all black, city duds, was instantly detected and labeled. The pattern on Goldstein's sweatshirt, the fabric that he designed, was an adversarial image, a kind of deep learning optical illusion that stopped the algorithm from seeing the person wearing it. Unlike poison attacks, which seek to subvert surveillance systems with bad data, they also talked to a woman that basically tries to sort of subvert license plate readers by wearing clothes that have license plates all over them, like fake license plates, to like get enough like fake data in there that it's like they can't be trusted, like that they're no longer reliable because there's a lot of fake shit in there. Adversarial attacks are images that have been engineered to take advantage of flaws in the ways computers see. They are like hacks, but for artificial intelligence. The security vulnerabilities of operating systems and computer networks are widely known, but deep learning AI systems and the way that they see and track are still new and so complex that scientists don't yet fully understand the kind of hacks that they are vulnerable to. The phenomenon of adversarial imagery was discovered more or less by accident in 2011 at Google Research. Christian Szegedy, this is like an Eastern European name, Segedy, Szegedy, trained a neural net to solve the problem of just how much he could change an image of a ship before the system reclassified the image as an airplane. He discovered that with only a minimal modification of pixels, the system reclassified it with a high degree of confidence, even though to the human eye it was obviously still a ship and not an airplane. So just testing, since the the camera doesn't really see. It doesn't have fucking eyes. Like, the artificial intelligence doesn't see. It views pixels, and then it does a trial and error based on where are the edges, where are the sides, where are the pixels located, where is this, where are that, and then it classifies it. Oh, bam, it's a ship. By playing around with the pixels, by playing around with the edges, even slightly, they were able to fool the fucking camera into saying the shit was a fucking airplane when it was a goddamn ship. Students at MIT printed a 3-dimensional model of a turtle with a textured shell that fooled Google's object detection algorithm into classifying the reptile as a rifle. Researchers, described an experiment in which they perturbed, that's the terminology they use for this sort of like messing around with it until they can get the camera to say that it's something else. Perturbed a stop sign with a few small decals that to a human look like graffiti. They just like stuck the decals on there. But that made an object classifier see the octagonal red sign as a black and white sign that read speed limit 45, a rectangular sign too. It isn't hard to imagine the kind of chaos one of these perturbances could cause in a future world of autonomous cars. People put a few stickers on a stop sign, and the autonomous car camera reads it as something that says speed limit 45 and goes right through it. I also found this whole idea of things being perturbed to be really disturbing because, like, these cameras and these algorithms and shit, they don't really see you. They do not really see you. They're using facial recognition software and all types of things to decide who you are. But ultimately, they're not actually seeing you, and they can be manipulated. So it's like, who's to say that it says like, oh, we got this security camera footage. It says it's XYZ. It says he committed the crime. And then they throw the motherfucker in jail. And he's like, it's not me. And then it comes out later on that the shit was perturbed to look like him. We already know that all these algorithms already have all this implicit bias, especially anti-Black racist bias that was written into the code by racist developers, even ones that are just racist on a subconscious level of, a Black face, criminal, certain types of things, are criminal, are this, are that. And then again, it doesn't seem immediately apparent how something like TikTok features into it, but then you think about the fact that TikTok has 100 million active United States users, and it's using our faces as models for a lot of this software. You really don't know where the fuck your face is going to end up. Goldstein's research is ultimately aimed at understanding these vulnerabilities and making AI systems more secure. He explained that he was able to create a pattern that confuses the network using the same trial and error methods employed in training the neural network itself. If you just try random patterns, you will never find an adversarial example, he said, but if you have access to the system, you can find a pattern to exploit it. To make the sweatshirt, they started with a pattern that looked like random static. They loaded an image of people, covered a small part of the image with the pattern, and showed the result to a neural network. An algorithm was used to update the pattern to make the neural net less confident that it was seeing real people. This process was repeated using hundreds of thousands of images until the neural net could no longer see people when the resulting pattern was present in an image. I couldn't tell you why this pattern works, Goldstein said. Researchers can't understand exactly how the machine sees. These are very complicated systems. They have weaknesses that occur in the interactions between feature maps and artificial neurons. They are strange and exploitable pathways that probably shouldn't be there. In spite of the gains in accuracy and performance since the switch to deep learning, we still don't understand or control how these systems make decisions. You train a neural network on inputs that represent the world a certain way, Goldstein said. Like you train them on inputs that says that all niggas are motherfucking criminals, for example. And then you fucking train them using a bunch of Black faces that you got from off TikTok. Real people! Real fucking people! You train a neural network on inputs that represent the world a certain way. And maybe something comes along that's different, something that it didn't expect. It's important that these systems are robust and don't fail catastrophically when they stumble on something they aren't trained on. So, now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the section of this article that's specifically on facial recognition software before we wrap up this video. Like object detection, facial recognition has improved dramatically in the 2010s with the switch to deep learning. Early handcrafted features for faces involved mathematical formulas that expressed how far apart the pupils of the eyes are on a face, for example, or the distance from the bottom of your nose to the top of your lip. But there are things about your face that I don't even know how to write down mathematically, Goldstein said. It's sort of like how do you describe a face? 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth? We all have that. You know, it's very hard to describe faces and what makes faces different to a fucking computer. Deep learning based face recognition starts with the detector and can run on top of any CCTV camera's feed. First, an image passes through layers of a neural network that quickly map out the locations of facial features. Anything with 2 eyes, a nose, and a mouth is almost always a face at this stage, Goldstein said. Then each face is isolated and passes through a more refined neural network that removes nuisance variables, distilling the face into a short list of unique coordinates, your facial fingerprint or face print. Many systems also outline the eyes, the eyebrows, the nose, the lips, and the mouth, using 68 standard landmark points to identify emotions and gaze. The results are expressed as numerical data, your unique identifier. Unlike the tips of your fingers or your driver's license, your face can be scanned remotely without your knowledge or consent and mined, data mining, for age, gender, emotion, and if your labeled picture happens to be in the system's database, your identity. So all those pictures, that we upload onto Instagram, all those pictures that we upload onto Facebook, all that shit that we upload onto TikTok, that's all going into a database. And our faces are not protected, right? So you can be fucking recognized at any moment in time. As with all deep learning systems, the more data you train the algorithm on, the more accurate the model will become. Early face detection systems developed for military, border control, and law enforcement purposes were trained on labeled databases of faces in the form of passport and driver's license photos and mugshots, the only large collections of faces that existed before the internet. But these databases were of little value in trying to match faces captured in challenging light conditions or obscured views. Photos posted to photo sharing websites and social media, on the other hand, are gold. If the government were to demand pictures of citizens in a variety of poses against different backdrops, indoors and outdoors, how many Americans would readily comply? We can't even get these niggas to wear masks. But we are already building databases of ourselves, one selfie at a time. Online images of us, our children, and our friends, often helpfully labeled with our names and locations, which we've posted to photo sharing sites, have ended up in data sets used to train face recognition systems. In at least 2 cases, face recognition companies have strong connections to photo management apps. And even when our images are supposedly protected on social media sites like Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, how secure are they? Though face recognition is only one application of computer vision, it poses a unique threat to civil liberties. The EU has tried to make privacy policies to contain it, as have a few states, including Illinois. In China, by contrast, the state has embraced the technology. A 2015 proposal laid out the country's plans for a vast, centrally controlled surveillance system using face recognition and other technologies. A huge part of how Chinese authoritarianism works is the uncertainty about whether you are being watched. The technology is incredibly precise, but the way the laws are applied is incredibly arbitrary. You are uncertain if you're being watched, and you are uncertain about what's permissible, and that puts the onus on you as the individual to be really conservative about what you're doing. And again, we're being encouraged to not be conservative about what we're doing. We're being encouraged to not even think twice before we open up motherfucking TikTok and have that shit all up in our fucking face with our name and our location and all this other shit, just so we can have a cute little minute loop of us fucking lip singing along to a fucking song. People really need to get serious about their digital surveillance and their digital privacy. The broader conversation around digital surveillance and what is going to be privacy and anonymity as we move forward with this social media and these cameras and the normalization of put your face everywhere. Put your location everywhere. Don't even think about it. Put your name everywhere. Don't even think about it. It's something that Americans need to start taking really, 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 really seriously. So before I go, I also want to touch on how the author of this piece also mentioned how in the future, basically citizens and civilians will be spying on each other, that we will become big brother spying on each other. They don't say this in the piece exactly. I'm going to read exactly what they say, but I feel like that is actually in tandem with this pushing of us to sort of ignore privacy and to ignore anonymity and to make that sort of taboo and to normalize this share. You guys have heard me talk about The Circle, which was a trash motherfucking movie. It was based on a book. I've heard the book is really good. I really want to read the book. But the plot of The Circle is that there's this social media site, this network that's obviously meant to be Facebook, and it's called The Circle. And the tagline is like, don't you want to be in the circle? And they have this concept that they call like radical transparency, like radical sharing, which is like we share everything. We share. We're friends, and friend me, and like me, and share. We're gonna share everything. And it sort of culminates in the main character, Emma Watson, wearing this camera literally 24/7 because she's like, I want to practice this radical transparency, and how that actually ends up affecting the people around her, her parents and her friends and her loved ones. Movie was trash. I am not recommending the movie, but I do want to read the book. And if any of you have read the book or want to check the book out, it's also called The Circle. And I think that a huge part of us, the encouragement for us to sort of leave privacy in the dust is because, again, data mining, our data is currency. A possible future where your face is that's the prime marketing. In Minority Report, there's a scene where fucking Tom Cruise has somebody else's eyes, and he walks into the Gap, and it's like, scan, hey there, Mr. Yakamoto, how'd you feel about those flat panel khakis? Are you back to get some more, merino sweaters? Like, they know your face. They know what you like to buy. They know what you like to look at. They know what you like to watch. They know what you like to click around on. They know what type of songs you're lip syncing to on TikTok. All of this is literally the business model of Google. All of this goes into a database so that they can market to you better, so that they can sell to you better, capitalism. And I do feel like a byproduct of this, push for us to share more information so that they can know more about us, so they can sell us things. I do feel like a byproduct of this push for us to sort of leave privacy in the past is also going, it's impacting our interpersonal relationships and what is deemed acceptable. And I do think that it's a very interesting point that is made about us becoming Big Brother ourselves. This person wrote, as I searched their faces, I wondered how long it would be before face recognition technology with the power of deep learning behind it arrives on everyone's phone. You will be able to snap a picture of someone across the subway aisle and run the face through a reverse image search, such as that offered by socialcatfish.com, an online dating investigation site based in California, which promises to ascertain if one's Tinder hookups are who they claim to be. This is already a thing. You meet somebody new and you Google their name. You try to figure out who they are. That's invading somebody's privacy. And I understand, the desire to want to do it because you want to know more. You want to make sure that it's safe, especially as a woman. You want to, know, is this person a creep? But it is an invasion of someone's privacy, and it is totally normalized, completely. You could potentially get a name or a social network before you reach your stop. That dystopia could be an app away. As Urban put it, people are concerned about governments and corporations, but soon it's going to be people doing all this tracking. Big Brother is us. I considered adding face camouflage, this is what the author said, to my adversarial look and met with Adam Harvey, an American artist based in Berlin, who made a name for himself in the early 2010s by creating a series of asymmetric get-ups that could defeat the Viola Jones algorithm, which until 2015 was the most widely used object and face detection platform. We met in a cafe in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, where he glanced several times at a CCTV camera mounted high up in a corner of the room. He said, "We don't really understand what we're doing when we go outside. We exist in this world where we are observed by machines. How can you mediate that to appear one way to the machines and another way to people? I'm going to have tons of links and information in the description box for those of you that want to read this New Yorker article in full. It's excellent. I would definitely recommend checking it out. And let me know what you guys think. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.